Hi, welcome. On this video, as part of my series on breaking down the learning-based narrative, I'd like to discuss this issue of the response, position, state of mind-based narrative, okay, that works off the assumption that good things are happening as a dog is going into certain positions, okay? And this is a thing, again, to understand right out of the starting gate is to begin to understand how the process itself is defined, as it how it packages up change even through the person themselves. So again, the same rule applies here when you are looking to understand why these things break down, why learning ideology breaks down. Is again within the I use the human example. Okay, you cannot just go by and line it up that way with a state of mind, okay, through response, with incentivizing or motivation, using motivating agents, because it's about understanding how a dog's decision-making process is governed, how it changes through the process, how you define the process. The process needs to take the form of an intervention. And so again, when you hear people use the word teaching the dog, that's the wrong way to think, okay? It's about bringing a dog into right relationship with defining the process as a relational changing process. It's all about the relationship. So getting back to this issue about alignment, okay, this is a core tenet of learning ideology. The majority of trainers work within the parameters of looking at a dog's state of mind this way through how dogs respond. And again, so when people, again, you see this a lot, when a dog goes into a certain position or reacts a certain way, you'll even see this out of certain concepts such as behavioral adjustment training. It's called BAT. You see as a dog, will turn away from another dog on a long line, the person will reward the dog for the state, thinking, well, that's great. No, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's lining up that way at all. The dog is still getting something out of the deal. The person's rewarding. The dog's still in control. So trying to build bridges. Again, I talk about applying this to the counting conditioning model. It's the same thing. It's about how those bridges are being built with the dog kind of working it out, but with the owner taking a weak position. Okay, they're just it's trying to incentivize the dog to to accept certain people, but again, they're working off a type of a response or appearance-based narrative without defining the motives, how the motives are aligning. Okay, so again, it goes beyond just the dog accepting. Okay, you have to look at the motives again. But as always, okay, what you'll find is that you'll discover is if the motives are not aligning, okay, properly, okay, the way that they should be, you'll see it come out in other aspects of the relationship. I want to make that point very clear. The truth is always out there. And people will try to shove that off as somehow being disconnected, or they put it in a different compartment away from the relationship. That's not how it works. Everything's connected. Okay, there's no such thing as one-offs, and that's the other thing to understand. When a dog's state of mind is escalating up into a certain state, that is not a one-off. Okay, likely everything else that you're seeing is a deception. Okay, you're not understanding these control issues and the issues with the motives of dogs, and you're trying to tie this in somehow, or it causes you to think there's something wrong with the dog. No, it's actually needing to move beyond just the appearance part of it and tying it into going deeper in that and looking at the actual motives, being able to tie it in. But again, here's the point. Another point is if you're applying this learning-based, working within the parameters of learning ideology, you're going to have problems. You're going to be confused. You aren't going to be able to reconcile this stuff properly. It might even appear to make sense with how, you're shoving this off, what's happening. Trust me, it's about understanding the process, going beyond just the appearance part of things, and getting back to this issue about how a dog's state of mind aligns. It does not, when you're petting on the dog or you're rewarding a dog just because the dog's moving into a certain position, that is not necessarily a good thing at all, okay, based on how the owner's currently thinking, okay, what's happening right at that intervention point. how you're processing that. You know, it's not about that. It's not about, and here's the other issue. What's happened is to the human is that people have come in with a certain expectation based on this learning narrative, that what they get out of the process, how they feel about it. So they're coming in with a certain compromised emotionally, and so they want to reward the dog. They want the opportunity to do that. And again, that is problematic in how that package is up. The dog can still maintain control. It still keeps that person's thinking processes in a position of weakness. Okay, you're not pushing their thinking over. It's like a tachometer. If you're not revving that tachometer over, it stalls out or it doesn't move at all. And again, getting back to this issue is things can look great in the training environment, but you can't go by that. I want to make that point very clear. You can't go by how things look. You have to be able to put it to the test, because either the test is going to happen, you know, it needs to happen in a training environment. It's going to happen in the real world. I mean, understand, this is how it works. You can't escape it. You know, you have to be able to understand the process. But beyond that is, once you really understand what the training process represents, okay, out of the starting gate, my word of advice is you aren't going to mess around with any of these concepts, okay? There's a better way. There's a basic formula I follow to make sure that the emotions of the dog are going to align, okay, that good things happen. And the issue about, this is the other issue, trainers look at, you know, what I'm saying, and I talk about the motivator coming into agreement with, okay, the process. It's understanding the type of influence, okay? They have a hard time with that because they look at this as not being able to reconcile, you know, how that turns into a motivation for the dog, the type of influence. But this is where, again, if you're invested, my thing would be, if you're invested in a certain way of thinking for so many years, it's very difficult to look at what I'm saying and what I'm showing and make sense of it, because, you know, it's very difficult because people have got into a certain way of thinking. But again, what I would state very clearly is this learning-based narrative is directly connected to the problems happening right now in the dog training world. You know, I'm talking on a massive scale. And so when I developed this system and really, you know, developed this methodology and how it works, I talk about the process being the motivator. You'll see, you'll be able to reconcile all of it. I mean, that's the good news about this. As you invest in a different way, different approach, it all makes sense. It follows a sequence. You know, this whole learning-based concept and how this works on rewarding the dog and working off this type of alignment, very problematic. Okay, very problematic, based on how change is defined in and through the dog owner themselves, with how it changes the perceptions of the dog. And again, if you go back and look at all the confusion and what even some of these trainers will say, these behaviors will say, well, it doesn't really work. It represses behavior, suppresses, you know, the dog and all these different things. Well, no, it's the same confusion, right? Making certain statements about it. No, actually, what's happening is on the opposite side. You know, many trainers are actually deceived into this, and they've invested in this appearance-based narrative, and so they can't figure that out. This is why you don't see transparency in the dog training world. You don't see the stuff pulled out into the light. You know, if you go watch my videos, I have a lot of videos that show day 1, day 2, right up through, and you'll see me, see how the methodology aligns. You see, talk about the integrity of it, how it holds together. The integrity has to hold together to define change. It's very specific. It's very intentional. Dogs come into agreement with it, no problem. I mean, you know, even the issue about challenge, it's all reconciled. It's all done in a smart way to keep it leveled out. But again, it's all understanding what the process is and how to bring it together, so you're going to have make sure that relational change really happens. So again, just to highlight on this video, it's a flawed tenet to base it off of the process, to jump right into it off of alignment this way, just through a response position-based narrative with it, making assumptions about dog's state of mind. You have to consider the motives, but again, you have to be able to put all the cards on the table. And once you understand, you wouldn't be approaching training like that to begin with. Once you really understand the process, you're going to approach it the same way every time. to make sure that things line up properly. So again, encourage you to look at what I show. I'm going to be doing some more videos on breaking the learning-based narrative down for people to help them understand that you have to move beyond this appearance-based narrative. It's not a learning-based exercise training itself. If you approach it that way, you're setting yourself up for some major problems and be totally deceived about it. So anyway, thanks for watching.